Hello and welcome to another For the Painter is Good painting tutorial. My name's Sean and together we're going to go through how to paint one of the new Space Wolf Blood Claw minis. I really like these minis if I'm going to be honest with you. The slightly more exaggerated posing of the Assault Intercessor original sculpt I think is what these are kind of based off of. They had a bit of a mixed review based off of that, but I really like them personally. I like the extra movement, the dynamism in it. They look really good, and of course I'm a sucker for Firstborn helmets. This one in particular with the rune is awesome looking. It looks really good. So we're going to jump straight in with Space Wolves Grey. No surprises there. So while I'm putting the Space Wolves Grey on, we're going to put this on all the armor panels, of course. Try and dodge the shoulder pads. We're going to make them yellow later on. Try and avoid nicking any of his totems or charms or the bones or anything like that as well. But feel free to put it all over like the Aquila, for example, and that kind of thing, as we're going to cover that in metallic. Leave out the wolf tail as well. I'll cover how to paint that later on as well, but we need that to stay quite pristine at the moment, basically. So a little bit of confession time here, just as I'm going through the colours here. I originally didn't like Space Wolves. My experience of them was through the Horus Heresy, and I did not like them one bit, to be honest with you. I thought they were often hypocritical. Obviously the whole thing with their wild magic versus obviously the use of the warp. It's basically the same thing, but nobody cares. And I didn't think they were ever really challenged for their beliefs in the Horus Heresy the same way that, for example, the Chaos factions were. However, that was until I came across the book called The Gift of the Emperor. It was awesome and completely changed my perspective on these. When you look at the 30k Space Wolves who will willingly commit genocide on trillions of civilians, yes, I'm referring to Prospero, of course. Trillions of innocent civilians died in that invasion of Prospero, and the Wolf King dubbed it good, or deemed it good, I should say. So, as you can imagine, I'm not a huge fan of them from that perspective. Flip over to the 40k universe, where you have the Space Wolves fighting in the first war for Armageddon against Angron. And lo and behold, when they do manage to banish Angron alongside a unit of Grey Knights, alongside a whole Brotherhood of Grey Knights, you can see then that when the Grey Knights are told or ordered to exterminate all the Imperial Guardsmen and any normal human that served alongside them, the Space Wolves block that. They don't wish to brutally murder any that they called brothers in arms at one point in time. So as a result, they kind of grew on me, and that book was really good. I really enjoyed that book. Obviously, they are more of the antagonists in that book, but they were very cool. I would advise you to go and read it. I'm not giving away too many spoilers. This has been broadcasted all over the internet as the lead up to the Codex came out. But yeah, so that really changed my opinion on them, and ever since then, I've been on the Space Wolf hype train. So that was all the grey armor done. What we're going to switch over to now is we're going to switch over to the Imperial Fist contrast. Now, you can use any kind of yellow contrast on this. Iyanden yellow will do a job. I choose Imperial Fist because I actually think it just gives me the cleanest looking yellow, to be honest. It's the closest yellow that I like. It's quite a vivid yellow. It's quite in your face. It looks really good when it's finished as well. So I really, really like that. That use of it. Plus, contrast flows really nicely over this ashen grey, which we've used to prime the model, which is really nice. Again, just a good finish on it and that kind of stuff. Try and avoid getting any pooling across, but try and make sure you fill that whole shoulder pad. Don't be afraid to go up to the recesses as well in there, because of course we're going to apply our shade over this, and then we'll of course touch up all the armor after we've applied an all over shade as well. So there you go. There's the yellow shoulder pads just completed there. We will be doing some detailing for the pack markings as well, so don't be too worried about leaving them that at the moment. So we're going to switch over to Black Legion now, and we're going to use this to fill in some of the other details on this model. So we're going to use it to fill in details like the chainsword. We're going to use it to fill in the leather pouch for the gun. And then you can also use it to fill in the soft seals of the armor if you like. I personally don't do that on mine. I kind of like these to be quite quick and ready. These are a baseline troop. You can run these in a squad of 20. So we don't want these to get too time consuming by filling in all the details. The Nuln Oil will give us a good shade as well in those recesses as well. So don't worry about that too much here. But you can see as well, I'm not being too careful with this at the moment. The chainsword is obviously going to get some metallics thrown all over it as well. And then, as I said, I'm going into the leather pouch as well and that kind of thing. So this is me just filling in those details then in that case. So we're just taking our time going through all these details. He's also got ropes on his, you can see it here, just I'm doing it here on the knee, and you can also see it wrapped around his wrist there as well. So we've got to make sure we're doing it there as well, basically, just to make sure we're covering all those details. I like my ropes to look like black leather effectively, so that's why I really like that look on it. Now I do have a little bit of a confession. Here's the finished Black Legion, by the way. Looks really good. I'm quite pleased with that. I don't like it to look like ornate kind of rope or anything like that, just simple black leather. These are Space Vikings. These are warriors of Fenris, the Vilka Fenrika. They don't use ornate gold and silver and bandages of silk. These are warriors, space wolves. They use leather and they use brass or bronze or whatever else is functional. So here I'm just taking Skeleton Horde, just going over some of those totems that I was mentioning earlier there. So we're going to hit all those little bits just all around. You can see he's got some on the knees and some on the wrists. You can also use this on any bags or pouches that anyone has. On the Sergeant, for example, I've given him like a bag effectively. So don't be afraid to jump in there and use it on there as well, because it will be really helpful just to use it while you've got the paint out effectively as well. It looks really nice as a finish as well. I'm pretty pleased with mine when he uses that. It looks really good. And here we are basically. Now, apologies for this one. This was totally my fault. My camera doesn't seem to have a very long battery life. So you can see I've actually filled in the tail, I filled in the gold, and I've filled in the silver here. So apologies for the gold was just the bit in the middle of the chest. The silver was just the chain swords and the backpack and the bit that goes above the wolf tail. So here I'm just applying an all over shade all over everything afterwards. The way I did the wolf tail was I filled it in with Nuln Oil first. While the Nuln Oil is still wet, I blended in Basilicanum Grey. And then while both of those are still wet, very quickly clean your brush off and put in some Black Templar as well in there. Make sure you keep the Black Templar just towards the middle if you can, basically, but it'll look really well in that case. And that's how you get that kind of nice, like wolf pelt finish on it and that kind of stuff. Full disclosure, that was a tip that I seen from War Hipster, by the way. Again, another fantastic YouTube channel. And to be honest with you, a lot of my painting techniques come from actually hand-me-downs from other channels, to be honest with you, or easy ways that I find to use other channels' techniques as well. I find it particularly useful. They're fantastic resources. These are artists that are much better than I would ever be. So of course I'm going to use their tips and tricks to try and help me finish my models and make them look good. So here I'm just applying the Nuln Oil. This is going to sound nuts, but again, it's an all-over shade of Nuln Oil. Don't worry about being too messy. Try not to get too much pooling if you can here and that kind of thing, but put it over everything. And I mean everything. So yes, we threw Carborg Crimson over the gold in the middle of the chest as well. You're gonna throw the Nuln Oil over that as well. Look, you can see I hit it there just nice and gently with it. Just a nice gentle dab there. And that'll do you fine. That Carborg Crimson gives us that bronzy kind of look, and then the Nuln Oil just blends that bronzy look back into the rest of the model. And yes, it goes on the yellow as well, as you can see here on the shoulder pads as well and that kind of thing. It gives our black that lovely leather texture. It just gives a lot more definition to the models as well in those recesses as well. So here is the shade when it's dried off now. So it looks really well. The armor looks a little bit unsettled at the moment. I call this the ugly stage of the model personally. So now we're going to make it nice. Now we're going to make it warplate. So this is one of the longest steps, and I arguably think it is the longest step of doing this entire model, which is we are going to apply rust grey all over the whole model here basically. In my opinion, this is the longest step, and this is a step I can sometimes find to be a little bit tedious. I don't know, does anyone else's brain work this way? My brain likes to process things in groups of 3. So when I do these, if I have more than 3 models sitting in front of me, I tend to get put off by things. But if you put 1 to 3 of these in front of me, I'll knock it out no bother, and there's no mental hurdle there. It's just some kind of weird thing that I have. I don't know, does anyone else have that? I'd love to hear it. Comment down below. Do you find a large number of models sitting in front of you quite intimidating? Or do you have a happy number that you like to sit in front of you? Mine is 3. Comment down below, let me know. But as you can see, we're hitting all the armor plates here. We're trying to hit the flat panels here with that rust grey. Get in behind the backpack. Try not to nick it. If you don't think you can hit it, don't paint it. That's my motto. If you don't see it, don't paint it. If you can't see it, no one else will either. So don't worry about getting your brush in there. I picked a particularly difficult little chest piece here just to show that it can be done as well. Look at those rivets in there as well. I had to dodge every single one of those rivets. Don't nick the gold on the chest. If you do, it's really easy to fix up. Just hit it where the Retributor armor, the Cardboard Crimson, and then throw the Null and Oil over the top. Job done. Bob's your uncle. Job's a good one. No bother at all. But just make sure when you're putting this coat on, just make sure you're trying to stay away from those recesses. See when I'm doing the helmet here, it's really nice to just see that part in between the big ridge and then the actual armor plate as well. Also, as you can see, he's got that awesome looking rune on the actual helmet as well. Try and dodge it if you can. Try and avoid it if you can. It really will pay off. It's like a few seconds more of pain just to do that, but it looks really well. So next up, we're going to jump over to Averland Sunset, and you've guessed it, this is for the shoulder pads. So this is just to give us a nice good coat of yellow on there so that we can do our lovely pack markings, and so you can put any transfers on if you want there. So it's really good. Now I thinned this down quite a bit just for my own personal preference for the texture of the paint. So I actually did 2 thin coats of this. You can get away with 1 coat, but I'm doing a YouTube video here. I want it to look nice for you guys, so I put in some extra effort and just did a 2nd coat. It looks good with 1 coat, to be honest with you. I would be happy to run it with 1 coat, but just because I'm doing it for you guys on YouTube, I did an extra one. So you can see here, this is me hitting the 2nd coat there. It looks really good. Nice. Great coat. We're going to jump up to white next. Now I've gone pro acryl bold titanium white, just 2 dots in the eyes. That's it. That's all you got to do. White Scar will do that job nicely as well if you don't have access to the pro acryl. And then we're going to jump up to Blood Angel's red contrast. So the reason we're jumping up to Blood Angel's red contrast is twofold here. First of all, you put 2 bits of it in the eyes, so that's great. So that's really handy. Easy job. Eyes are done. No bother at all. Next, what you're going to do is on the shoulder pad where we want those pack markings, you're going to put 3 dots where you want the points of the red markings to end. Then what you do is draw lines down to the bottom edge of the shoulder pad, or what would be effectively the left hand side of the shoulder pad, and you draw it that way across. Now these can go up and down as well. It's literally just to your point of preference. I've seen people do them up and down. I've seen people do lots of zigzags on it. My sergeant, for example, has 2 zigzags, and I'm giving my actual squad the 3 markings then on it, just so that it adds up nicer, basically, and that kind of stuff to differentiate the squad a little bit as well. And then what you do is literally draw in your little triangles with the Blood Angels red, join them down to the bottom of the shoulder pad. You can see here that's what I'm doing, and fill in the marking with the Blood Angels red. Then we're going to jump up 2 layers here. We're going to jump up to Mephiston red first, and you fill in those triangles. Try and avoid the edges if you can, because we want that definition to show. And then once we've done the Mephiston red, we're going to jump up again, and this is the Evil Sun Scarlet layer I'm showing you now, basically, and keep that inside of the Mephiston red layer again. So you see, I'm not actually hitting very much of the triangles at all, basically, and that kind of thing. I'm trying to stay quite close to the middle, but it just creates this kind of perception of dark into light in the middle, which looks really good. There you go. There's a good shot of it there. That's the money shot there. It looks really good. And then next we're going to jump up to Administratum Grey, and this is a stage that I find quite therapeutic, actually. This is the edge highlight. So here I am, just edge highlighting the chest around those nuts and bolts there. Basically, take your time. Again, stay away from those recesses if you can. It's easy enough to fix. You could just throw the a shade as a recess shade. We're just trying to make it nice and quick here. But just hit those edges, be as neat as you can, good point in your brush, and get it with the side of the brush in particular then. I find the good point just helps it to maintain the shape. But you can see here, this is me hitting the little raised bit on the top of his head. It just looks really well when it's done. It just highlights all those edges, sharpens up that armor really nicely, and it just means that when we're going to actually see those models on the tabletop, you can pick out those edges from a little bit further away as well. It separates it from looking like one kind of recessed plate to looking quite sharp, and the details looking quite sharp then in that case. So he's looking really good at the moment. This is really starting to come together now. You can see I'm going to do those panels there just on his butt, I guess. And then we're just going to do that. If anyone knows the fancy term for butt armor plates, let me know. Comment down below. I'd be interested to know what they're actually called, because I actually can't think of what they're called. I don't think it's groin guard because that's for the front, but let me know in the comments below anyway. But here you go. This is him going really nicely now. And again, this is just me going in for that shoulder pad recess there. You can see I'm not even being particularly careful with it, to be honest with you. It's just that technique of running it along the side of the brush, that helps loads. Don't worry about it. Try and get it quite close to the tip of the brush if you can when you're running it alongside. But that's the finished result there. And now we're going to jump up to the basin. So I use the AK diorama volcanic earth here, and it sounds a bit nuts for Fenris, but I like the darkness that it brings, because we've got quite a bright scheme here for the Space Wolves. So I like the darkness that the volcanic earth brings to the base. Basically it just creates a nice contrast between our already quite bright scheme for the Space Wolves here. So this is me just applying the paste. It's lovely to work with, to be honest with you. I would recommend it, and the pots are nice and big as well, so it's really good. Give it some time to dry up there. It takes normally about 2 hours for me to dry up. I'm going to switch over. Can't have Space Wolves without having snow, can we now? So that's it. So I'm just applying some snow here. I have way too much texture on that thing there. You'll see I'll pull it away in a little second, take some of it away. But it comes on really nicely, basically. It looks really well. And we're really in the closing stages here now. Literally, we're going to just apply the snow here. There you go. Job's a good one. Apply it liberally. 2 tufts of grass, and that's it. Job done. And here's some quick still images just coming up here so that you can see what he looks like under the camera light anyway. But I'm really pleased with the result. The dynamism in that pose is just amazing as well, isn't it? So good. But let me know what you think. Like and subscribe, and have a great rest of your day. Goodbye.